Hello, everyone. Jackson here on behalf of Future Daze and Tourfiend.com. Today I'm here with Bidi Cobra of Julien-K, Matte Black, Bion Ion, and Moving Units. How you doing today, Bidi?
Hey Jackson, how you doing? I'm doing all right, man. Just hanging out here at home, growing that quarantine beard. Thanks for having me, by the way.
Thank you for being here. Today we're gonna ask you a few questions. See how you're doing. What are your top 3 moments performing live?
Top 3 performances. Cool. I get to kind of give an answer for probably 3 of the bands that I play in that have done more of the touring and live shows type of deal. So I'll go ahead and let's see. I'll start off with the New Division. That's not one of the bands you mentioned because I'm no longer in that band, but it is one of the more recognizable bands that kind of allowed me to tour and travel a lot. I did a couple U.S. tours, and I went to Mexico and did a bunch of shows. With them, I would have to say I played this show in Austin, and it wasn't like the biggest show, or it wasn't, necessarily the coolest venue or anything like that. I think what happened is because they were the first band that I kind of allowed me to do all that traveling and kind of, take the next step in my career. You know what I mean? When you have to, when you're like a really small indie band, or when you're like an artist and you're just waiting to break through to the next tier of things, And so I guess, they that was the band that kind of like broke me into the next tier. And so there was a lot of firsts with that band. And I wasn't the original guitar player. I had replaced Brock. So by the time I started playing with them, they kind of already had a following. Starfield, Opium, a bunch of those songs were already kind of, being played. So I remember, I think we had just played a show in El Paso, and we were supposed to play Austin the next day. And I mean, that drive, I don't know if you've done it before. Geez, it's like 14, 15 hours, 16, I don't know. And we had just played, and, we finished loading up. It was 2 a.m, and I think our manager was like, hey, we're driving straight to Austin. We're not going to go to the hotel. We're just going to go straight there. And I was like, all right, rock and roll. So I remember getting to Austin and literally just feeling like a zombie. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna pull this off, because that was like one of the first times I had done that kind of grueling thing. And we get there, and I remember it being hot. It was during the summer, yet it was raining. So it was humid, hot, and it was raining, and I just didn't understand how those things could all be put together at once. But man, I'm telling you, the show started, the adrenaline started hitting, and at the moment, Alex, who was in probably all the bands that you just mentioned, he's my best friend. He'd already been in the band for maybe about 2 years. So I remember the show started and the fog hit, and there was this moment that almost felt like it was almost like heavenly. Like it was like, oh man, so this is what it's like. This is what it's like to kind of like, be here on stage and be with the crowd that, we were the headliners. So at that point, there was people in the crowd that knew the lyrics to the songs, that were kind of devoted to the band, and were kind of like they weren't breaking eye contact. Like they were there to see you. They knew what the next note was going to be. They knew what the lyrics were going to be. And that was like a first for me. So that one's always going to kind of hold a special place in my heart, because of that meaning. I hope that explanation wasn't too long, but I feel like it was necessary to say all that, why it was special. And I did a bunch of other really awesome shows with that band, but that one's always going to be special because I remember just looking at him and then Daniel, the bass player, and we're just like, holy shit, we're not in our garage anymore. Like this is next level. So that was special. Julien-K, I've done a lot of shows with them. I've done maybe like 4 tours now, maybe 5 with them, and we were really busy for a while. So we got to play anywhere from small clubs to arenas, man. I mean, I remember playing in front of 5, 6, 7,000 people. But there's a couple of those shows that the ones I'm going to remember, you know what? It's going to have to be Italy. We played in Milan, and it was a tribute to Chester Bennington. It was right after his passing. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Julien-K is like the side project of Amir Durock and Ryan Shook, original guitar players of Orgy. So there's already kind of a fan base there. And Chester Bennington was a really good friend of the band, helped out as an executive producer for the first record. I know he's like really known for like the hard rock and the new metal and Linkin Park, but he loved electronic music. He loved Depeche Mode. He loved New Order. He was a big fan of the band and was always there to support us. So when he passed away, the band was just heartbroken. And Ryan, the singer in my band, is literally was his best man at his wedding. So there's huge ties. And I remember being invited to play this show in Italy, and it's literally a whole different world. You know, I'm pretty sure you've done some traveling yourself. And I remember being there, and it's just like, holy shit, like I'm here because of music, and I'm here to, it's like almost like it's bigger than me. It's not about me. It's literally paying tribute to this artist who was a friend of ours. And the Italian people were just so awesome. I mean, they were nuts. I mean, I remember getting to the venue and literally there was a line just waiting outside. Something out of a movie. You know, I felt like Mark Wahlberg or something, like just like what? Right? Bad example, right? But still, it was really funny, but I knew it wasn't about me. So it was almost like sharing a connection with the crowd. And we played a lot of Julien-K stuff. We played a lot of stuff from Dead by Sunrise, which is Chester Bennington's side band that he had with Julien-K, but him as a singer. And I remember doing like this meet and greet with like 25 fans, and they came out and they had this huge Italian flag and they all signed it and gave it to us. And they were just sharing stories, talking about their favorite, you know, Chester moments. So that one's special too. And then with Moving Units, I'm literally just joined that band. So I'm the newest addition and I'm the guitar player. And we just played a secret show in LA. What's the name of that? Highland Park. We played in Highland Park at a venue called the Lodge Room. So what it was a secret show, and you didn't get to know the location till the day of. And it's a yearly thing that they're doing. So it was a packed show. For it to be, I don't know where else those kind of things work. I assume LA, New York, Chicago, maybe Seattle, like these huge metropolitan areas. I don't know if San Diego would ever be able to pull something off like that. Maybe. It was my first time playing that with the band, so I really kind of stepped it up, but it went really well. Experience came into play, and I jumped back on guitar, which, I haven't played a guitar in a band maybe in like the last 3-4 years. So I jumped back on guitar. That was fun. And just Jackson, nonstop dance party, dude. It was literally, the crowd was just moving the whole time, dancing along, and I'm just like, okay, if this is how all the shows are going to be, this is going to be fucking fun, and I'm in, So yeah, I think that that was the top 3 shows, and I wish you would have said top 10, and we would have just been talking for an hour.
You're right. Oh, that'll be for another time for sure. So what would you say is your favorite album/EP that you've ever worked on?
Favorite album/EP I've ever worked on. I'm going to have to say it's the one that I'm currently finishing up right now with Matt Black. And I know it sounds kind of cliche, right? Like every artist, you ask them, what's your favorite album? The one that we're writing right now, I think it's like the coolest thing ever. And then they plug it in, right? They plug it in, like, check it out. But no, I can say it very sincerely that I think what we're doing right now with Matt Black is my favorite stuff. And I think all the years of experience that are coming into play. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of good studio musicians in all the bands that I've kind of mentioned beforehand. John from the New Division, Ryan Amir from Julien-K, Blake from Moving Units. Like these guys are the real deal for a reason. They're not just performance-wise or artistically, like in the studio, their craft. You stick around, you're over their shoulder, and you're seeing their tricks, what they do, and it all kind of comes into play. I feel like this album that I'm doing with Matt Black is everything just kind of coming together, and but this time it's almost like me, Alex, and Daniel are in the driving seat, and we're not the supporting musicians. We're literally expressing ourselves a little more purely, Not to take away from anything else. It's just, it's a little more personal for me. So I would have to, and I mean, you'll know soon, as soon as it's out. We're planning to release it really soon. Um, I hope that answers your question.
That does. Yeah, thank you so much for that. I mean, like, it's not cliche at all. It's like, you know, you feel that creative power behind that. You know what I mean? And it speaks volumes to you. So yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, you're in the driver's seat. You're the one working, you know, round the clock on it. You're pouring your heart and your soul into that music. So I'm right. I totally get it, and I'm totally right there with you. So what would you say was the drive behind getting you into creating music?
um, I guess I want to start in the beginning. I definitely started as a guitar player, and it was really in the hard rock realm. Um, Being a kid, picking up a guitar, those guitar heroes, Jimmy Page, Hendrix, Kirk Hammett, John Frusciante, all these like virtuosos, kind of got me started playing guitar. But it wasn't necessarily them who actually wanted me to be a musician or be an artist. I think once The Cure was introduced to me, and I remember hearing The Cure when I was young through my older siblings. Um, but as you can imagine, all that hard rock stuff and guitar virtuosos is all about, you know, being flashy and you know, the scales and all this, you know, flash going on with the guitar. And it's almost like I, you know, I developed that ear for it. And then once The Cure came, it was like total opposite. It was mood, it was feels, like taking, you know, it was more about the ambience of the song. And I remember hearing the Disintegration album, just being like, holy shit, like he's playing really slow, but it's just giving so much more, you know? And that's when it happened. It was with The Cure, and it was that album. And then I remember hearing Depeche Mode and just being like, wow, hold your seats. Like, these guys are doing something else. What are these sounds? What are these textures? How are they all coming together? I think it was like Stripped. I think I heard Stripped. I'm like, what are these like clanky sounds and these keyboards? And it was kind of that essence of The Cure, but like different. And it's almost like if you go to a show and you see a guitar on stage before the band comes out, you see a guitar on stage, you can imagine what's going to come. You can kind of guess, oh, this is the sound that's going to come out of there, right? You know, it got, even if it's really slow or it's hard rock, like you can be like, that's, you know, and I can kind of guess. But when you go to a show and the band isn't on stage and you see a synthesizer and you see a keyboard, it's like, okay, what the fuck is going to come out of that instrument? You know, I have no idea what they're going to do with it. And that was pretty much what got me going, was The Cure and Depeche Mode. And then, you know, I can go down that rabbit hole of my love for synth and 80s, and then, you know, more experimental stuff. But there's a reason that these really huge bands that kind of break into the mainstream become the initial influencer for kids. You know, I mean, I grew up before you know, I don't want to totally like give my age right now. I'm 34, but you know, I grew up in a time where it wasn't, you couldn't easily find stuff. We didn't, you know, the internet, you know, I think the internet was introduced to us in like 4th grade. Before that, you had to go to like record stores. You know, you had to watch MTV, and that was the way to get things. So, you know, that was already the late 90s. So, you know, the whole Cure thing and Depeche Mode thing wasn't really being played a lot. I mean, it would be played, but it was like, hey, here's the newest thing. So that stuff you need to just discover on your own. And that was the beauty of it back then. So that was a way to be introduced to things. And now, you know, technology is awesome. And, you know, you could literally, you know, hear a kid playing his synthesizer in Russia right now at 2 a.m, creating a great piece of work. And, you know, you can hear it very easily. And it's, you know, it's a whole different world now.
That's great, dude. I mean, like, seriously, the growth that you have as an artist, you know, it's like defined by the things that like made you who you are as a person. And it's all these experiences we've experienced over time that really just kind of cement us into who we are.
I think you said it better than me, man.
What are you looking forward to accomplishing the most moving forward?
Um, honestly, it's just being as busy as possible. I think that right now, as soon as things get better in the world and things go back to normal, and I'm able to release records and tour, I hope that I'm in a position where I can be an influence to be a little more relevant or stay relevant and be an influence to to people in general that love music, or fans or friends. I think we're all in this together. I think that when you have a voice and you have a following, that you can have an influence over culture, over happiness, over anything that you can think of. And I feel like it's a blessing to be able to be in that position. I hope that I can be more of that. I know it sounds like I'm beating around the bush when I'm saying that, but I think it's really important. If music saved my life and certain artists were there for me, I think if I can give that in return to people, then I've done my job, regardless of the level of success, regardless if the next album I put out is a success or not. I think it's a success if you reach people and you make it count, for sure. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to. Aside from that, I do have other aspirations. I really like film, and I think it's gone full circle. The last music video from Julien-K, Shut Down Your Soul, I directed it. And I haven't directed anything in at least 7-8 years. I went to school for film, didn't really graduate. I figured out pretty quickly that if I wanted to be good in film and be successful in it, that it was going to require my whole being and all my attention. And when I realized that in my early 20s, I realized that I wanted to be a musician instead, because I was like, well, you know what? If this is what it takes to do anything in life, then I choose music. And now that I've kind of just gone at it for so long with music and have reached certain levels of indie success, I would say that I'd want to go back to film easily and possibly work with other bands. If I have that artistic eye or that ear as a musician too, like I know what musicians want. I know what kind of counts performance wise, instead of just setting up your frame and go at it and just shoot. I could kind of see certain performances or certain aesthetics or things that artists do, and be able to be specific about that if I shoot them. I think that's really important.
It's always going to be like one linear path. So it's like whatever we choose to do as an artist, that's all encompassing. It could be music, it could be film, it could be writing, it could be directing, producing. It doesn't matter. I mean, the possibilities are endless on what you can do.
Totally. I mean, I can't wait till things go back to normal, be back to how it used to be. I mean, I'm quickly figuring out how much music meant to me, more than I could even understand. I'm that guy, and you probably relate to this, who goes to at least 3 shows a week, man. I mean, I'm always supporting my friends, local bands. I'm seeing international acts when they come into town. Most of the coolest and awesomest friendships I have with people are because of music. I feel like we're living in a really exciting time where we can really do whatever we want with music. And I wanted to go back to that, man. I missed so much. And, I'm always going to be pushing for it. Even now that we have a lot of time off, like I was supposed to be on tour right now at this moment, and it got postponed. It got canceled. So I'm not going to be at home crying about it. I'm fucking writing a couple new records. I'm going to finish the Matt Black record. I'm going to, think about my next move. And, I just have to stay positive. It's so easy to think negative. It's so easy to be sad. And it's so easy to, have these things occupy your mind. But I think that the amount of energy and time you put into being happy, being productive, pushing for the things you love, is it might be a little harder, but it's so much more worth it, you know. And I mean, I don't want to get too dark when it comes to all this shit, where you know where we're at the moment, but I I really don't look at it that way. I look at it in a more positive light, and I look at it as just an opportunity for everyone to get to know themselves better. You know, yeah, it's so funny that this is where we're at, but we fucking have to keep going, dude.
Yeah, we have to keep going. We have to keep chugging along. You know, it's like everything that's going on right now in the world. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's very heavy. And there are a lot of people suffering. There are a lot of people battling this thing every day. You know, day in and day out. But I think, you know, and really quick shout out to all the first responders out there. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. You guys are doing amazing jobs out there. You know, all of the essential employees that are working right now, thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing, giving your all every day. What positive message would you give your fans out there?
Positive message for my fans is just hold on. Um, do everything that is needed of us. I mean, these protocols are in place for a reason. I think for the first time, we need to listen to scientists. And by scientists, I mean, you know, medical professionals. Um, let's do it, man. Let's follow it to the T so that we can get out of this thing. Because I think I saw an interview with, I hope I pronounce his name right. It's Neil deGrasse Tyson, the guy that does Cosmos. He's more of a astrophysicist, right? But they still ask him these medical questions because, you know, he's a smart guy. And he says, I'm not an expert in viruses or anything, but I can tell you this is listen to medical experts, listen to scientists. And it's as simple as washing your hands. I mean, we are so spoiled. In the past, we've been so spoiled, not anymore, that everything is a pill, you know, a vaccine. We'll be okay, right? That was the mentality. And now this is serious shit, dude. So let's follow these protocols, man, for a reason. Let's not go out to and be around 20 people. Like, let's just beat this thing. Let's follow the advice. Let's do all that we need to do to just go back to normal. If we all did our best within a month, we would be okay. But we have to prepare ourselves for the worst, right? And think that people aren't doing their best to follow these rules. I don't know if this sounds like the most positive advice at the moment, but I think that's what we need to do. Hang tight, and you know, you're not alone. This is the weird thing, is that you're not alone. Seriously, everyone is going through this. There's no shame in posting about your troubles, and reaching out for a friend. If any of my fans want to reach out to me, or the fans of my projects want to reach out to me and just talk, I'll try my best to like talk to you, because you're not alone. No one's alone. Like, talk about it. Say, hey, I don't have food next week. I don't have a budget for food next week. I swear I will drop off some Sips food at your door if I can. You know, like, you're not alone. Like, everyone's in this together, and I hope that, you know, we learn something through all this, that we're all in this together, and we're all a big family. We're a species, we're humans, and we're all worth time. We're all worth so much more than we think we are, you know? And that sounds kind of broad, but that's the one thing I hope for the most. And I think a lot of people are now, since they're in quarantine, they're listening to music more. You know, they're taking time to get to know themselves more. They're watching awesome films. They're, you know, even exploring their own artistic abilities. You know, hey, I always wanted to, you know, paint, you know, so I'm going to do that. Oh, I've always wanted to write a novel. As ridiculous and far-fetched as that sounds, now you have all the time in the world. Do it, man. Explore yourself intellectually, artistically. That's what I want to tell my fans. You know, listen to a record in its entirety. You know, we're in a society where, you know, it's just singles. We listen to one song. Hey, pop in that whole record from beginning to end. Trust me, these artists, these musicians, they write a whole record conceptually from beginning to end. And, you know, maybe that's something that people haven't done in a while. You know, I don't know, Jackson. What do you think? I mean, do you remember listening to a whole record in its entirety, like from the beginning to the end? You're like, oh man, these back burners, these B-sides, like, holy shit, they're so fucking cool, and I like them more than the singles.
I agree with you. Yeah, listen, check out artists, listen to their albums entirely. Feel that concept, feel that flow, like understand it, be it, live it. Just get lost in the moment. Just understand that you have nowhere to be right now. You know what I mean? But right here in this moment, that is what's important. Am I right?
Dude, you know what? You have this gift of just making me feel better. You have a way of saying things and just like persuading me, like you're like, hey man, it's gonna be okay. Like I feel your touch, and it's awesome, man. I need, that's why I surround myself with really cool people that have just great things to say and good things to do, man. It's I don't know if I sound a little more militant than most people, but you're right, man. Listen to that, man. If I could recommend any records, I know I mentioned Disintegration from The Cure, man. Until this day, man, I could just pop that in the car and ride off to the sunset and listen to the Disintegration album, pop in an M83 album. Those things are so magical, I'm a huge fan of, 9 Inch Nails, and a huge fan of Depeche Mode, and, hey, listen to some Jackson stuff, right? Listen to Julien-K and, the New Division and Moving Units, right? Listen to the whole albums in its entirety. Plug in. There you go. But yeah, Jackson, thanks for having me. Thanks for, filling up my afternoon with something interesting to do. I'm actually headed to Alex's place. Alex is my best friend. He lives down the street. We're still practicing the whole quarantine thing, but we literally want to finish this record and just move it forward and present it to you guys. And I'm so happy that there's a lot of cool promotions out there. Future Daze in LA. I know that you're involved in San Francisco shows and a lot of other places. And I want things to go back to normal so that we can do all that fun stuff. There's a lot of cool people here in San Diego doing great things. Our friend Javi, a lot of other people. And I want it to go back to normal where we're just having a blast and making people feel good, making people dance. I have this saying that says, my Biddyisms, right? It says, rock and roll never hurt anybody. And I said, actually, yeah, rock and roll hurts sometimes. It's very painful, but it's nothing a little dancing can't cure.
I totally agree with that. Once things get back to normal, you can bet your bottom dollar I'll be fucking dancing my ass off. Thank you so much, Biddy. Thank you so much for joining us today. On behalf of Future Daze and Torfiend.com, we thank you. And to everybody out there watching today, thank you so much for taking this time to sit with us and see this conversation. All right. You guys have a good one. Thank you again, Biddy.
Arrivederci.
Have a good one.
Take care, brother.